Morning everybody, welcome to today's Facebook Live, and we're thinking about the story that we would have thought about in Midweek Communion for today. Now I was looking through Luke's Gospel and thinking what we need is a story which comes just before the Holy Week stories, and I was reminded that the Zacchaeus story comes in Luke. It comes just before the kind of beginning of the Holy Week narrative. So here we'll have that in a minute. I'm also going to start by just reading the first two verses of Psalm 32, which if we get our emails, which Claire is sending, our reflections, is part of the daily reflection for today. So Psalm 32. Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Happy are those to whom the Lord imputes no iniquity. So now on to the Luke reading. So this is Jesus and Zacchaeus from Luke chapter 19, beginning at the first verse. He entered Jericho and was passing through it. A man was there named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd he could not, because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him, because he was going to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried down and was happy to welcome him. All who saw it began to grumble and said, He has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner. Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much. Then Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek out and save the lost. So that's the reading for today, Zacchaeus. And the Zacchaeus story is one which I guess I have a personal affinity for. Zacchaeus was possibly my height, so really quite short in today's standards. And I'm impressed by Zacchaeus because he actually managed to climb the sycamore tree. And I find being short is quite a problem when it comes to climbing trees. So at least he did get up into the tree. Now, the Zacchaeus story, because it's a very visual story, you know, the man in the tree, we kind of have a lot of children's stories about. And one of them in particular, which we used at Cologne the other day, actually, Mrs. Holden read it, was from this book. And it has a little kind of going through phase, and it says, nobody likes Zacchaeus. And that is fine. We're trying to think about what it meant for Zacchaeus to be so hated by everybody, so feared and so reviled. He was a collaborator. He was not only a collaborator, but he was playing the system and extorting money from people. So Zacchaeus was really hated, and that's fine. Nobody likes Zacchaeus. But I've been trying to work out why this story is so tight onto the narrative of Holy Week. Why are we having this story just before Holy Week? What was Luke trying to say when he made sure that he kept that story in the right place and at that point in the gospel narrative? And I was thinking about how actually there are two things. One is there are a lot of people who have been always told that nobody likes them and they're no good for anything. It can start even as a child. Sometimes people are really damaged by their parents saying this to them. Sometimes it is by someone who is abusing them, who will say to a child, you're no good for anything, you're nothing, nobody likes you. Nobody likes you at all. And the whole kind of theme of nobody likes Zacchaeus. Now, some of you will be bristling at that and going, oh, it's not like that at all, Janet. Zacchaeus is a collaborator and he's a thief. And this is the other side of it as well, that actually what Luke is saying is this gospel story is about redemption. It's not about redemption for the good and the holy. It's about redemption for the sinners. And so that we all get to the place where we all say, Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. So if you are concerned that nobody will ever like you, the good news of this story is that Jesus likes you. God likes you. If that's where you are, where you feel unlikable, because somebody has lied to you and told you that nobody will ever like you, then Jesus is saying, I like you. I'm coming to be with you. I will be your friend in whatever circumstance you find yourself. And you may think, I'm too much of a sinner to be Jesus' friends. There's too much wrong with me. I've done too many bad things to be Jesus' friend. Zacchaeus was the epitome of the evil person. Jesus still likes you. He loves you. He might not like some of the things that you do or that you've done, but the gospel is all about forgiveness for all. And for those of us who might feel more self-righteous, I'm not having anything to do with him. He is a sinner. Then Jesus is saying, that person, I like that person, I love that person. Even if you consider them to be a sinner, I love them and you must love them too. So, all about how someone who people despised was loved by Jesus, cared for by Jesus, and actually the purpose of Holy Week is the redemption of all, everyone, those who consider themselves righteous and those who know that they are just sinners. So that's the thought for the day today. But I do want to read a couple of prayers for us today. We're going to think about what's happening in the world. So we just have the prayer for those suffering from coronavirus, and then the Lord's Prayer. Keep us, good Lord, under the shadow of your mercy. Sustain and support the anxious. Be with those who care for the sick, and lift up all who are brought low, that we may find comfort knowing that nothing can separate us from your love. In Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And then the Lord's Prayer, I was thinking about this and how God is everyone's Father and we are all his children, the mighty, the lowly, the sinner and the saint. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Tomorrow we're going to try and do a children's version of the story about Cologne School Assembly time about 3 o'clock, and I'll put up some activity sheets after that tomorrow. Okay, see you all soon. Bye.